You are watching On Demand. Please do not try to vote or enter any competition or other interactivity in this programme, as it may not count and you may still be charged.
Today on your Loose Women Live, it's Christine Lampard, Jane Moore, Kelly Bryan, and Brenda Edwards.
Welcome to your Wednesday Loose Women. Coming up, it's been reported that Brits are suffering from a laughing deficit, with many unable to remember the last time they had a good old chuckle. So we're going to be bringing you the lulz this lunchtime, folks. And after Sue Cleaver revealed that she's often mistaken for looking down in the dumps when she's actually quite jovial, thanks to her natural facial expressions, we're revealing our own resting, miserable faces. There's a different way of describing that, but we're on daytime and you know what I mean. And
I believe everyone, including those who have been unfairly treated by the system, to be given a fair chance to prove they're innocent.
after making her Hollyoaks debut last month, we're joined by actress Annabelle Davis, daughter of Harry Potter star Warwick Davis, and she's going to be revealing why she's been following in her dad's footsteps for a huge fantasy reboot. Now we have to welcome Jane back, folks, because she's been off on her travels.
I have. Thank you, everybody. Yeah, I've been off on my, go on my annual adventure with my mates. So this year it was Laos and Thailand. So I was away for 2 weeks, and then sort of like halfway, I had a wonderful time. Look, there I am on a boat going from Thailand back to the airport. That's at the Mandalay Elephant Sanctuary, which is the most incredible place. No riding of elephants allowed. All rescued elephants are doing incredible work there. So that was a really magical day. But yeah, I just had the best time. But then halfway through the second week, my daughter Ellie, my oldest daughter, was trying to kind of shield me from the fact that my mum had another fall. But then, of course, she ended up having to go to hospital, and so they had to tell me, so that was a bit strange. So I sort of came back. So the whole of last week, I've been kind of just at the hospital with my mum, who's now fine and back out of hospital and recovering nicely. But, you know, again, going into an NHS hospital and spending the whole time there and just seeing how those NHS, the nurses, the doctors work their backsides off, against the odds is phenomenal. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you to every single last one of them that helped to look after my mum. So,
And of course, you were very grateful as well for your daughter, not only trying to shield you as much as you had to find out what had happened at some point, but very happy to take the lion's share of looking after your mum during that time.
Yes,
It's very difficult. And when you're on the other side of the world, that worry of trying to get home quickly and everything else, and then what happens when you get home and the next step of caring for your mum.
Well, because I'm an only child. So in a way, you know, I mean, listen, I've got lots of friends who are in similar situations. You know, people my age are going to have parents who are getting older and have care needs. But, you know, I look sometimes at people who have siblings and, you know, my kids are great, but I don't see it as their responsibility. I just want them to, you know, come and visit Nana because they adore her and have a chat. You know, it's not their responsibility to make sure that my mum gets good care. And it's tough, you know. When you enter that world, you realise how many people in this country, I'm talking about just this country now, but are caring. They're like the silent carers. And, you know, obviously there are fantastic care homes as well, but a lot of people are caring for elderly relatives in their homes. And a lot of it's unpaid. And hard work. It really, really is.
Yeah.
And it naturally does fall upon a certain person for whatever reason. Like I even know in my situation, just with not being at home, my sister's wonderful at taking my mum to the shops and they get out and they do things together. And I can't physically do those things and it makes you feel awful because I'd love nothing more to be able to do it. But it naturally has, you know, my sister does it and loves being able to go out for the day with mum and dad. But equally so, it does make you aware that there can be parts of the family can't do it for whatever reason, and then parts can, but then it does fall heavily sometimes on people, particularly if the relative is ill and takes a lot of care. And it's a very hugely stressful time for someone to maybe have to give up their job to look after someone. I mean, the number of unpaid carers has risen to 10.6 million, which means that 1 in 5 adults in the UK are currently providing care.
Yeah.
And that might be alongside bringing their own children up, trying to go to work. That's a huge pressure. And you do it because you love the person, obviously, and you want the best for them, but it's a huge strain.
But we've also seen, I mean, we've all got probably in our social circles, families where you see there's one person in the family where everybody else just goes, oh, well, you know, you're not working full-time, you take it on, as if they're all too busy. I remember it happened to a friend of mine, and I'm constantly on at her going, tell them to pull their weight, you know, her siblings.
Yeah. In my situation, I was looking after my grandmother who had cancer. And I looked after her all the way to end of life, and it just fell into my lap. She literally was just at my door one night, and I opened the door, and there she was, with her bags, and my auntie, who is also disabled. And it was one of those situations where, when she came in, I didn't know how long that situation was going to last for. But you do. I couldn't then work. I couldn't do the things that I would normally do. But I kept thinking, well, this is her end of life, and I want to make it as comfortable as I can for her. My life, hopefully, will continue afterwards. So you kind of put that person as the priority. But I just want to say a massive, you know, well done to all of those child carers out there who are very silently getting on with it, coming home from school, picking up the job that maybe their parents should be doing.
Well, speaking of a childcare, I mean, obviously, when I went through my cancer and I had my mastectomy and then my reconstruction surgery, Tanisha, she literally didn't even give me a chance to ask. She just says, I'm going to look after you for those 8 weeks, because I couldn't walk, I couldn't move, I had the stitches, I can't do this. And it was, I felt really guilty with her having to do that, because I'm like, you're young, go and do, you don't have to be, but anything, if I'm caring for somebody and I offer, I don't expect to get any payment for that. That's just what I want to do. And, you know, it helped me having my daughter, because then I wasn't so nervous about somebody else having to deal with,
and
with
you're most vulnerable of time.
And so I was very appreciative.
But I'm guessing for you, explaining your situation there, it would have helped greatly if you had collectively a family that were able to say, we know you're doing the tough bit. We'll all muddle together. Here's something to help financially per month. I think we've had to stop working. That would have helped you.
I think if any of those conversations could have been had, you know, where you say, OK, look, I'm going to do this. Would you mind paying for the shopping, or would you come over once, every other weekend and take her so I can have a little bit of time to myself? Those conversations are the fundamental organisational conversations that could happen that would take the strain off of that main carer.
And it can sometimes feel a bit awkward, can't it? But actually, families are all in it together, really. So you just have to have those straight chats, don't you?
Yeah.
Exactly. OK, well, there has been an emergency. Quite an emergency, but it's been classed as an emergency at one local Toby carvery after hungry customers were let down by a broken potato peeler. I know. Now, the popular restaurant displayed a sign, here is said sign, saying they couldn't serve mashed potatoes because their potato peeler was broken. Now, I don't have a potato peeler. It's called me and a knife. I am the potato peeler. But I just thought, OK, maybe it's an honest excuse, maybe it's real, but I think if maybe I were in charge, I'd have gone,
That's laziness, it's called laziness.
Let's get in there, folks. Let's get peeling those spuds. People want their mashed potatoes.
It was what you're saying about mashed. It was funny when you were speaking about this, because just a couple of days ago, I went to a lovely restaurant with a dear friend of mine, and we sat down, and you get to the restaurant and they say what's on the menu, what's not on the menu, So they were like, OK, just to let you know, we don't have smashed avocado, but you can have sliced. And I went... That don't make sense. It doesn't make any... The avocado, surely it starts off a slice and then you smash it and bang it. But, yeah.
So you could have ordered it sliced and basically just got your own fork in front of everyone just gone.
Exactly. But that's weird.
It's a good one, though. Any good excuses, Jane? You must have come across loads.
How long have you got? I remember going to a place once that had, like, a very varied menu, and I said, look, I'm not that hungry, I just want a sandwich. They went, oh, we're not doing sandwiches today. And I went, oh, OK. I said, you've got cheese on toast here? And he went, yeah, yeah. And I said, have you got bread? And he went, yeah. And you've got cheese? Yeah. And have you got butter? Yeah. So can you make me a cheese sandwich? And he's like, no, we're not doing cheese sandwiches. Just like, you know when you just want to kind of go like that? It was just like this sort of, like, computer says no thing. And
there's loads of those restaurant moments, though, isn't there?
I'm just going to play devil's advocate here.
Yes.
And I'm going to try and keep a straight face, right? Not on the avocado, that is ridiculous. But maybe they've got an industrial potato peeler.
Wow.
And maybe at a carvery, everybody orders, like, mashed potato and chips. And some poor soul would be there like that, doing one
Very
potato
true.
every...
Well,
maybe they meant their big electric...
Well, you playing devil's
catering
advocate
machine
is very apt because we have had a spokesperson from Toby Carvery come back to us. It's grabbed your imagination today, hasn't it? And it says, just so you're aware, it is an industrial machine peeler rather than the ones we have at home. Ha ha! Exclamation mark. So, you know, seriousness with a touch of humour, and that's what we like at Toby Carvery. But anyway, yes, you were quite right. So we understand the nature of the potato peeling.
But they should have said industrial machine, and then we wouldn't have had anything to do
don't
with
question
that.
us. Yeah, exactly. As for the avocado...
Smashed avocado slice. I mean...
Oh, lots still to come today, including laughter therapy and miserable faces. And after the break, she remains a divisive figure who saw backlash at the weekend after featuring on a magazine cover. And with a new documentary giving Shamima Begum another opportunity to speak out, we're asking whether she has a right to share her side of the story. We'll see you after this. Still to come, Hollyoaks actress Annabelle Davis is here to chat about her soapland debut, and she'll be revealing why her new fantasy series Willow is a full-blown family affair. First, though, competition time now. Michelle Ackerley is in South Africa to celebrate the biggest prize of the year so far. Oh, it just looks beautiful, Michelle.
It is absolutely glorious here, Christine. I'm having a lovely time. Welcome to the Lanzarote Wine Estate here in the heart of Stellenbosch. It's a balmy 32 degrees, and we just thought we'd have a little bit of red wine tasting. Tinashe is the man in the know when it comes to all things wine-related. Why is South African wine so special?
Michelle, I would say the spirit of Ubuntu we have got down here, which is between the nature and the people, which goes along with the meticulous attention to detail through each and every step of the process.
You can taste that attention to detail, Tinashe. It's absolutely delicious. Something else sure to grab your attention, though, is our competition. It's our February fortune. It's supersized. £250,000 of totally tax-free cash could be yours. Can you imagine £250,000 sitting there in your bank account? What would you do with all that money? Perhaps you'd come on a holiday of a lifetime and try some lovely red wine with Tinashe. There's also a bonus prize. Here's how you enter.
And don't forget, if you enter this week, you're also in with a chance of winning our bonus prize, a brand new Fiat 500 worth over £31,000. For your chance to win, text cash to 82248. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. Go to the website, entries cost £2. Call 09068 782248. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and phone number to Car 06, PO Box 7558, Derby, DE1 0NQ. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on Friday the 3rd of March. Make sure you enter before 4 p.m. on Friday the 10th of February for a chance to win the car. Good luck.
£250,000 of totally tax-free cash. That is a tasty amount of money, just as tasty as this red wine. Cheers.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Michelle. It's gorgeous. Now, last night, a new documentary about one of the UK's most controversial figures, Shamima Begum, aired on the BBC. She is one of 3 London schoolgirls who travelled to Syria in 2015 to join the Islamic State group, aged just 15. Now she's telling her story from the Syrian refugee camp where she's been living since having her British citizenship revoked in 2019.
I'm curious about how you think people perceive you.
As a danger, as a risk, as a potential risk to them, to their safety, to their way of living.
Do you understand why society has so much anger towards you?
Yes, I do understand, but I don't think it's actually towards me. I think it's towards ISIS, but when they think of ISIS, they think of me because I've been put on the media so much, you know?
But they only did that because you chose to go to ISIS.
But what was there to obsess over? We went to ISIS, that was it. It was over. They just wanted to continue the story because it was a story. It was the big story.
But you do accept that you did join a terrorist group?
Yes, I did.
Some say she is a threat to national security. Others argue she was a teenage victim of grooming and trafficking. Whatever the answer, she's definitely no stranger to controversy. You got to watch the majority of this documentary, Kelly, and it's very divisive. We got a reaction straight away from the audience there as well. And you're either almost one way or the other with it, aren't you? But where did you stand after watching
Well, I think the sensibility that she was 15 is definitely there. It's definitely, you know, it's evident that there were conversations that happened within her school. There'd been an incident before, the letter didn't get to her family, so all of those discrepancies did happen, which if I think, you know, if the family were warned, at least they would have been more alerted to the probability of her joining. So there is all of that to kind of underpin everything. But I think there were key things and key messages within the documentary that's kind of still sat me in the seat of a reserved position, as in my concern are things like rehabilitation. So when you get back, you know, we've had previous cases with people like Usman Khan who was brought back and he was rehabilitated, supposedly, but then went on to reoffend and cost people's lives. So for me, it's about the training that she received while she was there. Yes, we know we're not privy to the fact that she was actually, you know, responsible for any of those deaths, but she took the decision to go and join ISIS. And also within the documentary, there was a point where she was actually shown the videos of what ISIS is responsible for, and my heart goes out to the victims. There were British people who were kidnapped and executed under ISIS, and those families have now got to see that person that had joined a regime of that, you know, what kind of person joins a regime that knows that that's a possibility and that's what they do and that's what they stand for. I know that she said that she thought it was about, you know, her faith and being a Muslim and being protected and all of those things. And I get the sweeteners that enticed her to be there. But I also think there's a sense of responsibility that has to be taken also.
What do you think, Jean, in terms of the argument that she was a young girl, a naive girl who was easily led into something that she just wasn't fully aware what was going to happen to her, and certainly not aware of the fact that she might be able to get back home again?
I mean, you know, Patricia's not at that age.
Sorry, she was aware, just to add, she does say that in documentary, she does say she was aware that she wouldn't be able to come home. So when she was leaving, she did say that she was aware that she wouldn't
get home. But here she is wanting to, is what I should say. You know, so
anybody
the door will open.
Yes. All I will say is anybody here that has got a daughter, you know, when they get to the age of 15, they can be a little bit malleable. They can get in with the. I know this is an epically wrong crowd, but listen, I'm sort of a bit on the fence with it, but I do believe that everybody has a right to tell their side of the story. The way I hate the world going now is that they keep saying you can only hear one side of a story. You should be able to hear both sides of a story. You might not like what you hear, but you can then make an informed decision on what you think about the situation rather than a narrative that's been fed. So I do feel that she has the right to say her side of the story. Almost, though, in a way, she's become a political football. And actually, the more that she does, the more that compounds that, because she is so high profile now that she's become that sort of the poster girl, if you like, for ISIS brides. Now, there's an awful lot of ISIS brides, as they call them, who have very quietly been rehabilitated back into Britain, and we know nothing of them. They've just gone back to ordinary, westernised lives. She, however, because she got discovered in this refugee camp and now is giving all these interviews, has become this sort of very public figure, and any government that says, OK, bring her back, is going to get shot down in flames. And then the other thing is you've got all the other people that think that she should be given another chance who are shooting them down in flames. So it's very, very difficult. But my personal view is, and it's just a gut feeling, she is now so high profile that she wouldn't be a threat. And what I would do is I would bring her back to Britain. She's lost 3 babies. She's been through an awful lot, so have the families of the victims of ISIS. I agree with that. But I would put her out on a school. I would say, right, you can come back, but you're working for the government, and you are going around schools where we have issues with what we think are young people being radicalised, and you're going to go into those schools and you're going to tell them exactly how it is.
I have my concerns over the authenticity of her regret, because the times that I've seen her, there's been no remorse. And it's, you know, I think that you can easily say something that you think that you have to say in order to get what you need. And if, yeah, you can go and you're on the front cover of a very popular magazine. If you don't want to talk about it, you have the choice to say no or yes. And she's chosen yes for her own reasons. So you can't go back and start blaming the media. I blame the media that put so much... I've been put on the media so much, but what is there to obsess over? Well, if there's nothing, come off the media. Don't do the interviews.
Yeah, well, this is exactly where we're at. Heated views. Still to come, 34 years on since her father, Warwick Davis, starred as Willow in one of my favourite movies, Willow. She's starring alongside him again, Annabelle Davis, with us after the break.
Drama, betrayal, gossip and heartache. It can only mean one thing. It is Super Soap Month. We'll be joined by the bosses who masterminded all the sensational stories and twists and turns that keep audiences guessing and decide which relationships bloom and which ones are doomed. Super Soap Month. This month on Loose Women.
Always look on the bright side of life. Always look on.
Welcome back to your Wednesday Loose Women. Joining me, Christine Lampard, it's Kelly Bryan, Brenda Edwards and Jane Moore. Still to come today, after it was reported that Brits are suffering from a laughter deficit, we'll be bringing you the lols this lunchtime, as best we can. And we're revealing the very awkward moments that have tickled us. And do you have a miserable resting face? One of us on the panel definitely does. Stay tuned to find out who. I mean, it's clearly not Brenda. Now, our guest today has acting in her blood. As the daughter of film star Warwick Davis, she spent her childhood on movie sets, including Harry Potter. Now she has become a name in her own right, playing plucky lawyer Lacey in Hollyoaks.
I'm a great athlete. I'm smart. I'm hardworking. And even though being different can be hard, it's given me an invaluable perspective on the world.
How?
Well, for one thing, I've learned how to judge people's characters quickly. I know who I can trust and who I can't. And I've got plenty of other superpowers up my sleeve. I'm just looking for the right opportunity to use them.
Please welcome, it's Annabelle Davis.
thank you.
Are you still pinching yourself when you're watching clips like that back and thinking, I'm in Hollyoaks?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. It's a very different world. And my auntie is a huge fan of the show, so she was the first person I told. And even still, she's like, you're on Hollyoaks. I'm like, I know. It's crazy.
And it suddenly feels very sort of grown-up soapland, doesn't it? Because obviously, with children that watch CBeebies and see BBC at home, you were in the Tracy Beaker spin-off. But it's a very different sort of world, isn't it, once you're thrown into that sort of mainstream soap? And it's hard.
Yeah, it's different on a lot of levels. I mean, Dumping Ground was great because they really dealt with a lot of cool topics for a children's show, some really hard-hitting stuff. But Hollyoaks, obviously, you've got a massive audience, and there is a lot more you can explore because, you know, it's adult and it is later. But, I mean, the main differences, I think, is the schedule. Soap is a whole machine of its own, and it's I'm still sort of learning the paces and stuff, but it's fun. It's been a great learning curve, and I think, I mean, after this, I think a lot of people have heard once you've done a soap, you can do anything. So it's cool.
Well, as a Hollyoaks person myself, tell us about your casting process, because it was a little bit different. So your role was originally not for a smaller person, but you kind of had an influence on how the direction of that role went.
Yeah, it was lovely, actually. Lucy Allen, who I worked with on Dumping Ground, so she already knew me, and she approached me just saying, I've got a role, you know, it's not written for a little person, but I'd love you to take a look and see whether you would like to play her. And it was nice. We had a few Zoom meetings where we discussed the character and different ways we could take her, because it's lovely to be given a role, you know, that isn't made for a little person, because that doesn't really define who you are. But on the other hand, it is nice to explore things, you know, some perspectives from a little person and actually give viewers that, because I think it's really important, you know, on TV, that you're shown all this diversity, and we can all learn from it, really, raising all the awareness.
Well, obviously, your your dad, Warwick, is literally in everything. Mega famous. Your mum, Sammy, we know very well here. Yeah. Was on the show a lot. Lovely. Please send her our love.
I will. She sends her love as well.
Did they give you any tips about sort of being in the public eye? Because, you know, particularly when you do a soap, your recognisability factor shoots up, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think I've already noticed that. You don't realise, like, what a big viewership these have, and I think it's incredible. It's really special. But for me, I think, as I've grown up with a famous dad, it's oddly normal. And I think, I mean, we'd be walking him down the street and he'd get stopped and we just carry on
I can only imagine.
It'll be hours.
And I bet Warwick talks to every single last one of them for about 10 minutes.
Well, it is lovely, and we're so grateful for people who come up to you and say how much they love what you've been in, because, I mean, without them, you wouldn't be doing what you're doing, so...
But you say you've grown up with your famous dad. Was that where you got the bug for acting, watching him, or was it something that you always wanted to do yourself?
I think it was. But for me, I love art, and at school, Mum and Dad were always very strict, you know, get all your GCSEs and stuff. They never really pushed it and encouraged it, because it's a hard business. So I wasn't so sure, and it was when I saw him in a play, See How They Run, where he created it and he used all little actors and the set was scaled down, and I was like, OK, this is so cool. Feeling the audience's reaction, I was like, I want a little bit of that. And so I had a go and I got the Dumping Ground, and I just carried on. I think my mum and dad are like, oh, OK. Now, I will see how you go. I mean, the minute I'm not working, Dad's like, so what are you doing now? I mean, at the moment, I'm writing a book, trying to keep busy as well, because you never know, like, with this industry, what the next job is going to be, so...
Yeah. You lived every child's dream of being on a Harry Potter movie set with your dad. I mean, and as you said, it's sort of the norm. That weirdly became the norm, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, gosh, what child wouldn't have loved that opportunity?
It was surreal. Like, my mum was amazing. She would pick us up from school, take us down to Dad on set, and yeah, we'd sit in his trailer, wait for him to finish, and then go back to the hotel. I'd be building volcanoes, art projects. He'd be helping me with my homework. And that was normal. I mean, I had my 13th birthday there. Yeah. It was like I think it was a Sunday, the only Sunday they worked. Dad felt awful. He was like, I'm so sorry. You want to come in? I was like, OK, fine. Sat in the trailer. I had a really nice day. And then at the end, he was like, come on the set. And I was like, oh, OK. So I came on to watch the scene. And then at the end of it, they all started singing Happy Birthday. You know, and this is in the Great Hall, and there's Alan Rickman, and it was surreal. Like, 13-year-old me was incredibly embarrassed.
I hope someone filmed it.
It's actually a golden board, so if you go on the special features on the DVD, there's a 13-year-old me with a Colin the Caterpillar looking very embarrassed, like, what's going on? But it was amazing. I mean, I peaked at 13. I can't top that now.
It's a good 13th birthday.
Yeah. Amazing. And your boyfriend, Charlie, is he in the business?
He isn't, actually. He has a regular job, which he enjoys. He's a photographer, and he's also working in marketing at the moment. So, yeah, he's more professional than I am.
And how long have you guys been together?
Just over 2 years now.
Oh, wow.
Which is weird. So, yeah, I know.
So he's met mum and dad?
Well, yeah, they're lovely. It's nice.
Has he met your mum and dad?
Oh, yeah, we live at mine at the moment.
Oh.
And then they love it.
Oh.
No, but they love it because he's cool. So they get him doing all the jobs that they...
Very useful. Annabelle, just before you go, Willow, back in the day, was one of my favourite movies. It was just brilliant. I think I must have watched it 100 times. And now you are back with your dad in the rebooted version. An incredible experience for you to be working with your dad on something that is an iconic movie from all those years ago.
I mean, it makes me emotional now thinking about it. It's so cool, and it was such an honour to see Dad work back in that role. And I don't really cry at a lot of things that I watch on TV, but there's so many moments in that where it really makes me tear up because it's incredible, and it's just so lovely to see a character, you know, 40 years later, and it's like, wow, this is so special. But it's nice. New viewers can enjoy it because there's plenty of nods to the film, and then it's also refreshing loads of new characters.
For a whole new audience as well,
Yeah.
isn't it? It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Please send all of our love to the family.
I will,
We're all
thank you.
invested in some
Thank
way.
you.
It's great to see you, and best of luck with Hollyoaks and everything else.
Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, Annabelle Davis. Still to come, apparently, us Brits are suffering from a laughter deficit, apparently, Annabelle. Many of us are unable to even say when we last had a proper laugh. So can you always find the humour through the darkest of times? And if you are gagging for a giggle, you might be in luck. We're talking about miserable resting faces. And Jane, yours really has to be seen to be believed. That's all I'm going to say. Stay with us. We'll see you in a bit.
The skies are gonna clear up, put on a happy face, brush off the clouds and cheer up.
Hello again, welcome back. From letting your laughter loose to miserable mugs, we'll be putting a happy face on in just a moment. First though, this is a happy occasion. It's competition time. How do you fancy getting your hands on our super-sized prize? Michelle is in South Africa with all the details.
Hello ladies, yes, welcome back to Stellenbosch. This place really is like a picture postcard. You've got vines as far as the eye can see. I can even spot Table Mountain in the background there. It's somewhere you could really feel inspired, and hopefully something that'll inspire you is our competition. £250,000 is up for grabs. Totally tax-free cash. Can you imagine having £250,000 in your bank account? That's cause for a celebration, and I thought I can't come to a wine estate without having a spot of Lanzarote bubbly. Cheers to that. Also, if you enter this week, you've got the chance of winning our bonus prize. That comes in the form of a Fiat 500 brand new car worth over £31,000. That's £250,000 of totally tax-free cash, as well as our bonus prize of a brand new car. If you enter this week, I'd love for you to win it. Cheers to that. Here are all the details. And don't forget, if you enter this week, you're also in with a chance of winning our bonus prize, a brand new Fiat 500 worth over £31,000. For your chance to win, text cash to 82248. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. Go to the website, entries cost £2. Call 09068 782248. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and phone number to Car 06, PO Box 7558, Derby, DE1 0NQ. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on Friday the 3rd of March. Make sure you enter before 4 p.m. on Friday the 10th of February for a chance to win the car. Good luck.
Thank Thank you very much, Michelle. Good luck with that. Now, whatever you do, don't you dare tell Sue Cleaver to cheer up, because the Corrie legend has opened up about her resting, miserable face. Saying she's well aware she looks down in the dumps, but she's actually quite happy and jolly most of the time. And Jane, you know what she's talking about. That was someone laughing and snorting at the same time, just to clarify. So
You've ruined my look by making me laugh. That is my natural... I wouldn't say it's a resting, miserable face. It's more... I always look bored when I'm not. So if you're, like, saying something that's really interesting to me, I'll be like this. And people will think, oh, Jane looks really bored. But I'm not. I'm actually... I'm in a state of fascination, Christine. I am. Endlessly fascinated.
Endlessly, I can only imagine.
So
but no one's ever said it to you? No one's ever said, Jane, come on, cheer up, Jane.
Oh, well, not my friends wouldn't. They know I'm actually quite a jolly person.
You are, you see.
But, you know, sometimes, particularly on the telly, you know, you get people go, oh, you look really bored today, or, oh, I could tell you really didn't like what so-and-so was saying. And I'm thinking, no, I was just listening.
Yeah.
You know, and obviously my face just portrays something different. But, you know, there you go. What can you do?
That might be also your journalistic background, because you're having to listen to people's stories, take in a lot of information.
Exactly.
Be impartial.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And often those stories are quite...
long.
Well, no, and also...
Tragic.
Grim.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so, I mean, I'm really good mates with Anthea Turner, and her resting face is... And she's tried to teach me. She goes, right, come on. And I just look like I've got indigestion. It just doesn't work.
And what is it you can't smile and laugh and talk
so
at the same
Anthea
time?
does this, she does this, she talks like this, and she's smiling. I can't do it. I'll go, yeah, and the other thing is, blah, 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 and then I'll go... Because I think a smile is needed here in this sentence, so I sort of, like, put it on the end.
It's like a punctuation mark.
Yeah. Smile and talk at the same time.
That's the opposite of you, Brenda.
Total opposite of me. I mean, at the end of the day, with all the tragedy I've had in my life, I should be the most miserable person going. But I think I've been raised in a family where we just laugh everything off, and, you know, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, and they say if you don't laugh, you will cry.
And a lot of people, Brenda, I think, it's almost like you manage to, even if it's just for half a second, con your own brain into thinking, at least I'm allowed to laugh, in spite of whatever has happened.
Yeah.
Yes.
There is a form of medicine.
I have a happy disposition.
Yeah.
I have a happy disposition. I have a very happy disposition, and it's actually better for your mental health and for your body if you laugh. It's very good for you. I do have some statistics. Do I have time to read these statistics?
Go for it.
Look at this.
Read away, babe.
It says, laughter is also good for you over the long term. It may improve your immune system, relieve pain, improve your mood. 42% of Brits don't remember the last time they laughed out loud. Come on! This little one. Get it?
He'll be snorting again in a minute.
Laughing is the best medicine. It's the best medicine for everything, I swear to God.
Yeah, very true. You're a jolly person, Kelly.
Yeah, I am pretty jolly, but on this show, people have often... Yeah, no. But on this show, you have to really concentrate, because sometimes, like, you know, there'll be, like, a big, heavy debate, and they'll be, like, in your ear, throwing to you, Kelly, and if I'm not on it, I'll lose it. And also, I'm dyslexic, so I'm kind of putting my glasses on, having a fiddle, but people kind of feel like sometimes I'm quite serious, and I was in the gym the other day, and the girls went, oh, you're really quite serious on loose, aren't you? I'm like, no, I'm actually trying to think.
So you've got the serious face.
I've got the serious face, I'm trying to... Yeah, a bit Sue Cleaver, where I'm trying to, like, read my notes, make sure I'm saying all of the right things at the right time, so I do kind of get a bit like... Because I'm just trying to work out what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
But also looking like I'm entertained, so I'm kind of going...
Yeah. Yeah. I understand. Yeah.
Yeah, you know? So I'm going like, yeah, I'm with you, but in the back of my head I'm going, what's that needed to say?
What about you, Christine?
Well, weirdly, I think I'm relatively smiley, naturally. I think I do have a resting, non-miserable face.
Oh, my God, you're such a smiley person. You've got such a lovely, angelic face. I always look at you and go...
Really?
Yeah.
That's the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me.
Yeah, you are. But, like, even when we were a bit flustered the other day when we were at the awards, you know, you just expect something else to come out. No, she just goes, okay, is it coming anytime soon? We're waiting for a car, and is it coming anytime soon? She's still smiling.
Yeah. I think out of all of us, and there's what, 20 of us? 20 listeners? Yeah. I always say you are one of the nicest, and just... Yeah, you are. Look at you. You are.
Yeah, you are.
We love a bit of Christine.
My job here is
what
done.
she says about you.
That is a lovely thing to say. And like I say, we've been talking about the laughing thing, and we say with many Brits, 42%, in fact, not being able to remember the last time that they had a proper laugh. Like, that's a big percentage.
A big number.
And it's understandable nowadays with so much that's going on. This has been the most horrific couple of days for news. I found it really harrowing watching the news. It went from one story that you think it can't get worse, and then it does. It's been horrendous. So I understand people have all forms of struggle. But weirdly, the laughter thing, and I know from back home and growing up in Northern Ireland with Troubles and everything else, I worked on 2 comedy series back home, which were massive at the time. And one was like a comedy drama, very much based on the Troubles. And it was a Catholic family and a Protestant family. And only the Northern Irish could find it probably really funny and indeed find the humour in this awful situation we were living in. But we did, and we laughed at things that probably people from other parts of the world would find really inappropriate. But we were all so in it together that you felt like, oh, that laughter was a bit of release from whatever the awful news had been that day. And it really helped. It meant a lot to people that you could, for maybe 30 minutes, watch something and go, yeah, that was funny, even in spite of what the content was. And I think the power of laughter, like you say, Brenda, it's so
it releases
so important.
dopamine, doesn't it?
It does.
If you can.
Yeah.
But I am, like you, we've spoken about this, I'm that person that goes to the car shop and I'll be in that bit and I will be chuckling and everybody's in there wondering what is going on. I will stay there for a good hour.
Are you in the rude section?
I'm not in the rude section. Well, yeah, maybe a little bit. But I just find the humour of it. And then at the end of it, I end up buying 17 cards because I can't decide on the one because they've all made me laugh.
Oh, Brent, I'm with you. We have to do that together.
Oh, man, that would be so cool.
I literally stand with tears down my face just laughing at really inappropriate, cheeky rudes. It's the rude ones are the funniest for me. I don't know what that says about me, but I think...
If Grace comes back from college at like the weekend and she's had a bit of a kind of a heavy week or whatever, and she comes in looking a bit kind of miserable or whatever, I go, Schitt's Creek? And we sit down and we just choose an episode of Schitt's Creek. Have you never seen it?
No, I just copped on. I was like...
Yes. S-C-H-I-T-T.
And it is joyous, and it's like getting into a lovely warm bath.
I agree.
It's just fantastic.
It is.
I think everybody should get up in the morning and just laugh at themselves in the mirror.
If you can. Thank you so much for your company. It's all we've got time for, folks. Emmerdale boss Jane Hudson will be here for our Super Soap Month. Get your questions in for her too. Thanks very much for your company. See you soon. Bye-bye.